The topic of my study is the relationship between individual values and the involvement in using ICT in different age groups. The pandemic has shown how important to have a skill of using information technologies, and these technologies have become a connecting bridge with the real world, both for separate individuals and for entire agglomerates of companies and organizations. However, the extent to which people are involved in the use of such technologies continues to deviate from individual to individual, affecting their well-being. This is why it's important to understand what psychological factors may underlie these differences. And in this study, we examine the relationship between individual values and ICT involvement among youth and adults. Since the socialization of young people took place in the conditions of active use of ICT, while among adults it didn't, we can assume that in different age groups, the individual values can play a different role in encouraging or hindering the active use of ICT. So, there are two views regarding the influence of values on human behavior. Some authors believe that there is a causal relationship between values and human behavior. Others note that the relationship between these two factors is mediated by the action of the norms that regulate behavior. Accordingly, the more normative a behavior is, the weaker its connection with the value it expresses. In this sense, the observed process of ICT introduction into the life of society is a good example of such situational priming. The younger generation striving for group belonging will strive to implement the behavior that is characteristics of particular social groups, while the older generation accustomed to existing in a different situational context will have the opportunity to show their own values. But can the values change with age? Values change under the influence of specific social circumstances in a person's life and age. By far, the most influential factor on this list is life-changing events. For example, the death of a loved one or a disaster. At the same time, if we consider the average person, then the subjective experience of specific life events is linked with age and life priorities that he has at different periods of life. For example, personal growth, finding a partner, creating a family, and so on. So the values formed during a certain period of life reflect the influence of the environment and form what the individual is guided by at a certain stage of life. In this study, we have two research questions: whether individual values and the involvement in the using of ICT are related to, and what is the role of age in this relationship. Sample of our study includes 90 respondents. 30 of them are males, and the age of respondents ranging from 15 to 72. About 60% of respondents have the highest educational level. In 2019, about 76% of respondents are employed, and 87% of respondents have an income above the established subsistence minimum. The research was conducted on the OneCaserve online platform. The link to the study was distributed through social networks. The survey includes a set of questions regarding the respondents' involvement in the use of ICT, their individual values, and about their social demographic characteristics. The questionnaire was filled out individually without time limits and controlled by the researcher. But at the same time, the average time to complete the question was 30 minutes. The study includes the following list of variables. Independent variable is individual value. So we use the questionnaire from European Social Survey. This survey includes 21 items in a 6-point Likert scale ranging from 1 to 6 to measure 10 individual values. The moderator here is age. Dependent variable is the involvement in the using of ICT. We applied our methodology, which we, with our colleagues, created for the measuring of involvement in the using of ICT. And this methodology includes 16 items in a 5-point Likert scale ranging from 1 to 5 to measure the involvement in the using of ICT. Also, this study consists of the list of cover aids like gender, education, and income. We conduct moderation analysis to examine the joint impact of individual values and age on the involvement in the using of ICT. So here you see the results of mutual influence of the self-enhancement values and age on the involvement in the using of ICT. Achievement and power are positively related to the involvement in the using of ICT. Age is statistically significant, negatively related to it. The influence of the interception effect is statistically significant, positive for the achievement only. Self-enhancement values and age are significant and explain 14% of the variance in the involvement in the using of ICT. Age statistically mediates the relationship only in the case of achievement. The interception effect between achievement and age increases the percentage of explained variance of involvement in the using of ICT by 0.5%. Here you can see the graphical presentation between achievement, age, and the involvement in the using of ICT. As you see, achievement positively relates to the involvement in the using of informational technologies. The slope of relation line become more pronounced in the case of older generation. Next, here you see that security, conformity, and tradition are negatively related to the involvement in the using of ICT. The influence of interception effects of main variables is statistically significant and negative in the case of security and conformity. Agent security and conformity are significant and explain 13% and 13% of the variance in the involvement in the using of ICT, respectively. Age statistically mediates relationship between the main variables only in the case of security and conformity. The interception effect between security and age increases the percentage of variance of dependent variable by 0.9 and 0.4 respectively for security and conformity. Security and conformity negatively relates to the dependent variable. The slope of relation line become more pronounced in the case of older generation. This relation is not significant in the case of younger generation, and at the same time, the relationship between conformity and the involvement increases with age. So, self-frame benevolence universe. Universalism is negatively related to the involvement in the using of ICT, and the influence of the interception effect is statistically insignificant and negative for self-transcendence values. Age actually doesn't moderate this relationship. Universalism negatively relates to the involvement in the using of ICT. The slope of relation line become more pronounced in the older generation, while in the younger generation, this line goes to 0. Next, hedonism and stimulation and self-direction don't relate to the involvement in the using of ICT. The joint effect is significant only in the case of hedonism and stimulation. The effect of these two values and age are significant and explain 30 and 12% in variance of involvement in the using of ICT, respectively. And age statistically significant moderates the relation between K variables in hedonism and stimulation. The interception effect increases the percentage of variance of dependent variable by 0.7 and 0.5% respectively. Hedonism and stimulation positively relates to the involvement in the using of ICT. The slope of relation line become more pronounced in the older generation as in the previous cases. So we found that values and the involvement in the using of such technologies are related to Compared to the younger generation, these factors significantly more strongly determine the behavior of the older generation aimed at using information technologies. Perhaps this is due to what we talked about at the beginning. Individual values change under the influence of life circumstances or age. In this sense, the modern information and technological environment is a normative environment for youth and doesn't imply the manifestation of their individual values. The older generation had another environment as a normative one, and therefore the modern information environment acts for them as a space in which they are guided by their individual values. Thank you for your attention.